Ladies and gentlemen, the narcissist did not cry when they hurt you. They cried when they realized nobody would ever love them the way you did again. And the most shocking part, the moment you finally stop chasing them, is the exact moment they begin chasing you. Tonight, we are exposing what truly happens inside a narcissist after losing someone who genuinely loved them. And if this message resonates with you, take a moment right now and subscribe, because understanding narcissistic behavior can save you years of emotional confusion, self-doubt, and heartbreak. And I promise you what comes next explains why many narcissists come back only after they realize you are truly gone. A narcissist often realizes your value only after losing access to you, because as long as you are present, your love feels guaranteed. They become comfortable with your forgiveness, your patience, your emotional support, and your loyalty. Instead of appreciating it, they begin to see it as something ordinary, something that will always be there, no matter how poorly they behave. This is why many narcissists slowly become emotionally careless in relationships. They stop nurturing the connection because they believe your attachment makes you permanent. The tragic reality is that genuine love is often invisible to people who are consumed by entitlement and ego. While you are loving them deeply, they may focus more on what you are not giving rather than recognizing everything you already provide. They chase validation outside the relationship, seek attention from others, and create emotional instability because chaos feeds their sense of power. But the moment you emotionally detach or walk away, the illusion of control disappears. Suddenly, they are forced to experience absence, and absence has a way of revealing value that presence could not. And they notice the silence where your care used to be. They notice nobody checks on them the same way. Nobody listens with the same patience. Nobody tolerates their behavior with the same compassion. The emotional security you created becomes painfully obvious only after it is removed. This realization can create panic inside them because they understand too late that authentic love is rare. What they assumed was replaceable turns out to be something they cannot easily find again. Their change is usually driven by panic, not genuine empathy. When a narcissist suddenly becomes kinder, more emotional, or more attentive after losing you, many people immediately believe the narcissist has finally understood the pain they caused. But in most cases, what you are witnessing is not emotional awakening. It is emotional survival. The narcissist is reacting to loss of control, loss of admiration, and loss of access to someone who made them feel powerful, desired, or emotionally secure. Real empathy requires the ability to sit with another person's pain without making it about yourself. Narcissists struggle with this because their emotional world revolves around protecting their ego. So when you leave, their first instinct is often not, I hurt this person deeply. Their instinct is, how could this person leave me? That difference matters. One response is rooted in accountability, while the other is rooted in wounded pride. This is why their behavior can change dramatically after separation. Suddenly they apologize. Suddenly they promise therapy, commitment, honesty, or emotional growth. They may cry harder than you ever saw during the relationship, but often these reactions are fueled by fear. Fear of abandonment, fear of losing supply, fear of seeing you move on and thrive without them, fear that someone else will now receive the love and loyalty they took for granted. And because panic is emotional, it can temporarily look very convincing. A narcissist may appear softer, more vulnerable, even transformed, but panic-driven change usually fades once stability returns. If their behavior improves only when they are at risk of losing you, then the change is not rooted in empathy. It is rooted in desperation to regain control of what slipped away. Losing real love creates a deep narcissistic injury to their ego because genuine love gives them something they secretly crave but rarely know how to protect. A narcissist may act overly confident, emotionally detached, or superior, but underneath that image is a fragile sense of self that constantly depends on validation from other people. When someone truly loves them with sincerity, patience, loyalty, and emotional consistency, that love becomes part of the structure holding their ego together. They may not appreciate it openly, but they become dependent on its presence. The injury happens when that source of emotional security disappears. The moment you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop forgiving, or stop emotionally reacting, the narcissist is forced to confront something unbearable. Rejection. Not rejection from someone superficial, but rejection from someone who genuinely saw them, cared for them, and stayed longer than most people would. That kind of loss attacks the image they created about themselves. Narcissists often believe they are unforgettable, irreplaceable, and always in control. So when someone they underestimated finally walks away, it creates a crack in that illusion. This is why many narcissists react so intensely after losing real love. Some become angry and vindictive. Some become depressed and obsessive. Some suddenly try to transform overnight. The emotional injury is not only about losing a partner, it is about losing the person who reflected value back to them. Without your admiration, attention, or emotional investment, they may begin feeling empty, exposed, and emotionally unstable. And the painful irony is that they often recognize your importance only after the relationship is damaged beyond repair. By the time their ego finally understands your value, your heart has already grown tired of carrying the entire relationship alone. They may suddenly become emotional, desperate, or obsessive after losing you because the loss disrupts the emotional control they believed they had over the relationship. During the connection, narcissists often appear calm, distant, or emotionally unaffected because they feel secure in the assumption that you will remain attached to them. Your consistency gives them confidence. They believe they can withdraw affection, create confusion, ignore your needs, or emotionally neglect you without consequences because they expect your love to keep returning. But once you truly detach, their emotional stability begins to crack. What confuses many people is how dramatically the narcissist changes afterward. The same person who once ignored your tears may suddenly send long emotional messages. The same person who avoided vulnerability may suddenly cry, beg, or talk about destiny, soulmates, and second chances. This shift can feel shocking because it seems so different from the coldness they showed during the relationship. But the desperation often comes from realizing they are no longer in control of your emotions. Your absence forces them to experience uncertainty. They begin wondering who you are talking to, whether you are happier without them, and whether someone else will now receive the love and devotion they once had access to. That fear can become obsessive because narcissists struggle deeply with replacement and rejection. They do not only miss the person, they miss the emotional power they felt while having access to that person's heart. This is why some narcissists repeatedly reach out after separation, even when they were the ones who caused the damage. The emotional panic creates urgency inside them. Suddenly, they cannot tolerate distance. Suddenly, your silence becomes louder than all the attention they once ignored. And in many cases, the obsession grows strongest when they realize you are finally healing without them. Hoovering begins when they see you healing without them because your recovery threatens the emotional power they once had over you. A narcissist is often comfortable as long as they believe they still occupy space in your mind. Even after separation, many narcissists expect you to remain emotionally attached, grieving, confused, or waiting for closure. Your pain reassures them that they still matter deeply to you. But the moment they sense emotional independence, something changes inside them. Your healing becomes proof that their influence is fading, and that realization can trigger panic. This is when hoovering often begins. Hoovering is the attempt to pull you back into emotional connection after distance has been created. It can appear in many forms. Some narcissists suddenly become affectionate and nostalgic. Others apologize for things they previously denied. Some send emotional messages late at night, pretend to check on your well-being, or bring up memories they once ignored. In more manipulative cases, they may create crises, act vulnerable, or suddenly claim they have changed completely. The purpose is not always love. Often the purpose is re-entry into your emotional world. What makes hoovering confusing is that it usually happens when you are finally regaining your strength after weeks or months of silence, self-work, and emotional exhaustion. You begin finding peace again. You laugh more. You think about them less. Your energy shifts. And narcissists are often highly sensitive to that shift because they notice when they are no longer the emotional center of your life. Your healing creates a loss of control they struggle to tolerate. They may not have valued your love properly while they had it, but seeing you move forward without them forces them to confront the possibility that you may never return. And for someone who depended on your emotional attachment, that realization can feel unbearable. They often romanticize the person they once devalued because memory becomes distorted once access is lost. During the relationship, narcissists may focus heavily on your flaws, criticize your emotions, minimize your efforts, or make you feel like you were never enough. This pattern of devaluation helps them maintain emotional superiority and avoid vulnerability. As long as they can convince themselves that you are weak, overly emotional, difficult, or replaceable, they do not have to fully confront the depth of your value or the fear of losing you. But once the relationship ends and your present disappears, their perspective often changes dramatically. The emotional distance creates space for reflection, and suddenly the qualities they once ignored become impossible to forget. They begin remembering your patience during their worst moments, your loyalty when others walked away, your emotional support, your forgiveness, and the stability you brought into their chaotic inner world. The same qualities they dismissed while you were present can later become the very things they obsess over in your absence. This is why some narcissists speak about former partners with intense nostalgia after separation. Even if they treated those partners poorly during the relationship, the person they once criticized now becomes the only one who understood them or the best thing that ever happened to them. But this romanticizing is often selective. They remember how you made them feel while still avoiding full accountability for how they damaged the relationship. What makes this especially painful is that many people spend years begging for appreciation while they are still giving love. Yet, the narcissist only begins to see the beauty of that love after it is gone. By then, the relationship has often been exhausted by emotional neglect, repeated hurt, and the loneliness of loving someone who could not value you in real time. Some narcissists pretend to transform just to regain control because losing you creates a threat to the image they hold about themselves. When they realize you are serious about leaving, they often understand that their usual tactics no longer work. The manipulation, emotional distance, blame shifting, or silent treatments that once kept you attached suddenly lose power. And when narcissists feel their control slipping away, they may temporarily become the exact person you begged them to be during the relationship. This is why the change can feel so convincing at first. Suddenly, they communicate better. Suddenly, they apologize without being asked. They may start talking about therapy, healing, childhood wounds, or becoming a better person. They become more attentive, affectionate, emotionally expressive, and vulnerable. For someone who spent months or years feeling emotionally starved, this sudden transformation can feel like hope finally arriving. It can make you believe the pain was worth enduring because now they finally understand your value. But the important question is not whether they can act differently for a short period of time. The real question is why the change only appeared after consequences entered the picture. Genuine transformation usually begins with accountability, empathy, and consistent effort, even when there is no immediate reward. A narcissist pretending to change is often motivated by fear of abandonment, fear of replacement, or fear of losing access to emotional supply. The behavior improves because they want the connection back under their control. And once they feel secure again, the old patterns frequently return. The attentiveness fades, the emotional inconsistency reappears, the promises become empty. This cycle confuses many people because they mistake temporary panic for permanent growth. Real change is slow, uncomfortable, and sustained over time. It is not a performance activated only when someone is walking out the door. The person who truly loved them often leaves stronger, wiser, and emotionally awakened because surviving a relationship with a narcissist changes the way you see people, love, and yourself. In the beginning, many loving partners enter the relationship with empathy, patience, and the belief that love can heal emotional distance. They try harder, communicate more carefully, forgive repeatedly, and carry the emotional weight of the relationship because they genuinely want peace and connection. But over time, constantly loving someone who invalidates your emotions can become emotionally exhausting. You begin questioning your worth, your instincts, and even your reality. Yet something powerful happens when you finally step away from the cycle. The pain that once broke you slowly begins rebuilding you into someone more aware and emotionally resilient. You start recognizing manipulation faster. You stop confusing inconsistency with passion. You begin understanding that love should not require endless self-sacrifice, just to receive basic respect. The relationship teaches you painful lessons, but those lessons become wisdom that protects you in the future. Many survivors also rediscover parts of themselves they lost while trying to keep the relationship alive. Their confidence returns, their emotional clarity returns, their peace returns. They realize how much energy was spent trying to earn love from someone who only valued them when they were emotionally useful. And once that realization settles deeply, the attachment begins losing its power. What is ironic is that narcissists often expect the person they hurt to remain emotionally dependent forever. They assume the damage they caused will keep you attached to them, but healing changes everything. The same person who once begged for crumbs of affection becomes someone who finally understands their own value. And that emotional awakening is often the one thing the narcissist never expected to lose control over. Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest tragedy for a narcissist is not losing admiration, attention, or control. The greatest tragedy is realizing too late that they lost someone who loved them sincerely, someone who stayed through confusion, inconsistency, emotional distance, and pain, someone who offered patience when others would have walked away. But authentic love cannot survive forever in an environment where it is constantly taken for granted. And this is the lesson I want you to remember tonight. A narcissist may suddenly change after losing you. They may cry, chase, apologize, or promise transformation. They may finally recognize your worth after your absence creates the silence they can no longer escape. But recognition is not the same as healing. And regret is not the same as growth. Real change requires accountability, empathy, consistency, and the courage to face the damage they cause without turning it into another performance. Most importantly, never measure your value by how long it took someone else to appreciate you. Your love was never weak because it was genuine. Your kindness was never foolish because it was real. The problem was never that you loved too deeply. The problem was that you gave deep love to someone who could not fully honor it. And sometimes the most powerful thing you will ever do is walk away from the people who only learn your value after losing access to your heart. Because your healing is not their punishment. Your healing is your freedom.